Hello everyone, welcome to my first generation CR-V review. Let's get right into it. So the CR-V is a crossover of the late 90s, right when crossovers started popping up. Some things that make it different. The tailgate splits open, and the glass opens up like a truck, and the tailgate opens horizontally, unlike many other cars at the time. There's a table in the back, and the CR-V is all built on a car platform, so it drives just like a car. There are many things that separate Honda from other manufacturers, specifically in the 90s. I like to keep a chair in the back so that I can always have a pop-up picnic whenever I want to. Some things that make it different, because it's built on a car platform, you can put things on the flat load floor. So I put my longboard there usually. Another thing that's interesting is you can fold the passenger seat all the way down, and the rear seats can recline to different settings. So if you wanted to, you could lounge like this, and you can adjust the seat depending on how you like it. The rear seats do fold down flat, and the back section will fold down. The window switches are mounted on the dash, which is an interesting feature of the time too. Let's get into the hood and the engine bay. So the engine bay is a classic Honda B series engine bay, which means if you wanted to, you could put any other B series motor in here, and that's what makes Honda so special. Because of this plug and play AR-15 like compatibility, you can fit any motor in here that you want to. And it's just like any other Civic engine bay, but it's built like a car, but it's also a crossover, so you have all the utility, but all the parts commonality too. So if you look at this tire pattern right there, you can see that this wear is circular, and that's because of the double wishbone suspension. So what that means is that when you are cornering, the car will gain negative camber adjacent to the level of the road, which means you have active suspension that will always keep your car in check in terms of negative camber. So handling wise, the steering is very light. There's nothing about it that's heavy, but when you get to the corner, you can really feel everything about the vehicle. Something that you can also feel is the pedal, the throttle cable. The throttle cable is directly linked to the pedal, which means you can feel everything about this car. This is the beauty of these late 90s vehicles. You can really feel in tune with all the mechanical components of the car while reaching the peak refinement before electronics really took over. This is a ground clearance test. The CR-V says has about 6 to 8 inches of ground clearance depending on where you get that information, and this is a pretty bad ditch. Not many sedans can make it through this without scraping of some sort, but because of the CR-V's ground clearance and car-like size, it's really maneuverable in a variety of situations. Now we're going to get into the four-wheel drive test. So it's part-time four-wheel drive, and if you watch again, you can see the front wheels will slip before the rear wheels start activating. Now this is not a serious four-wheel drive system. You can't really go crawling or mudding in some circumstances, but it's there for people who don't want to be in a situation that requires four-wheel drive. But the CR-V is everything that the Civic was in its last form. You have double wishbone suspension, engine bay compatibility. You also have SUV-like utility with the tailgate in the back, and that's what makes the CR-V such an appealing vehicle for people who are looking to buy a vehicle for under $2,000. And these vehicles are no longer going to be produced with this size, with this efficiency, and with the care and form factor that Honda provided in the late 90s. These vehicles are relics, but they are still as modern as you can get while being simple before electronics took over. That's why I enjoy the CR-V.